Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are watching from now. My name is Amy Simpson Burden, and you are watching the RELO Andes live webinar series. Today, we're going to be talking about teaching global citizenship, how we can support our learners to make a difference. So a little bit about me. My name is Amy Simpson Burden. I am an English language specialist in Lima, Peru. And I am working out of the Regional English Language Office at the U.S. Embassy. And I am this month's RELO Andes webinar host. I also work at the Center for Applied Linguistics in Washington, D.C., USA. And I call South Carolina home. This is a very special week for our webinar series. This is International Education Week. International Education Week is November 13th through the 17th, and you can find out more about how people around the globe are celebrating International Education Week by going to iew.state.gov. The website is listed here, and I believe it will also go into our chat. So happy International Education Week from one educator to another. And so I'd like to hear from you. I see a few of you are already greeting me. Hi, Karina. Great to see you. Hi, Miro. Hi, Sonia. Good to see you all. Where are you listening from today? And are you celebrating International Education Week? If so, how are you celebrating or how are you honoring International Education Week? And where are you listening from? Our Regional English Language Officer, Sandra Story, is tuning in on Facebook Live. Hi, Sandra. Karina from Arequipa. And Daniel from San Jose, from Costa Rica. How exciting. Glad you're here. Miro is tuning in from Egypt. That is wonderful. So glad you're here. Yolanda is joining us from Tarija, Bolivia. That is wonderful. I'm so glad you are here. You are joining us this afternoon. As you are sharing a little bit about where you are from, where are you joining me from, I want to remind you that we will have a post-webinar discussion, and there is a new time and a new date for that post-webinar discussion. So we're going to try something new to see if more of you can join me. So after this webinar ends at 3 p.m. Lima time, we will provide a Zoom link for you to join me in a Zoom room, and we can chat. We can talk more about international education. We can talk more about global citizenship, or we can just get to know one another a bit better. I would really enjoy that. So if you are available after this webinar ends, then join me at 3 o'clock on the Zoom link provided. Let me check back into our chat and see where everyone is joining us from. Itzel is here from Lima, Peru. Good to see you. And Karina, I understand. Didn't know about International Education Week, but it does sound exciting. There are a whole list of events on the iew.state.gov website, webinars and activities, things to read, things to learn about international education. So we'll focus on global citizenship and how that works with international education during today's webinar. Martha is joining us from Sucre in Bolivia. So glad you're here. Laura is joining from Rosario, Argentina. So glad that you joined us today. Glenda from Lima, Peru. Wonderful. I am so glad that so many of you have tuned in to today's webinar. So on the schedule for today, we'll talk about what it means to be a global citizen. We will talk about some of the characteristics of a global citizen. And I will share with you some ways that you and your students can both explore global citizenship. So this will not only be some teaching tips, but also some ideas for you as an educator to develop professionally through global citizenship during International Education Week. So I'm excited to get into it. So if you would like more information on global citizenship, what it means to be a global citizen, how you can teach your students about being global citizens, there are lots of resources on the American English at State website, including a webinar from American English Live on global citizenship. There was also a month of Teachers Corner activities on building global citizens. And there is an article in the English Teaching Forum, volume 45, number 4. I've put a picture of the front of that magazine here, where you can learn more about teaching global citizenship. There's lots of great resources on the American English AmericanEnglish.state.gov website on global citizenship. These are just 3 different ways that you can learn more after the webinar if you're interested. Alfredo is joining us from Seprin School. I'm so glad you were here. Lakshmi is here. Thank you for joining us. So those resources are posted in the chat. Feel free to grab those links, save them for later, and engage with more ideas on global citizenship. Okay, so I'd like to hear from you before we get started. When you hear the word global citizen, what does that mean to you? How would you describe a global citizen? Can you put your ideas in the chat? Good morning, Mansoor. Good morning, Gio from Rome. So what does it mean to be a global citizen? What does that mean to you? Have you heard the term global citizen before? It's okay if you haven't heard the term before, but feel free to put your answers in the chat box. Have you heard this word before? And if so, how do you describe a global citizen? What does that mean to you? We have an answer from Yolanda. Thank you. The idea of a person that is attached to various local and non-local communities. That is a great definition. I think many times when we think of citizen, we do think of a citizen of our town or our state or our country, but a global citizen, I think you're right, Yolanda, has a lot to do with many local and non-local communities. Martha says that you are part of a big community. Alfredo says a citizen of the world, not of a specific country. Absolutely, Alfredo. That's a great way to put that. A global citizen is a citizen of the world, not one specific country. And Karina shares that she considers herself a global citizen. She says, "My home is the world. We are all the same, and we're here to help each other." That is such a wonderful sentiment. And I hope that we can talk through some of those ideas about what does it mean for your home to be the world, and how can we help each other, even if we are in our own corner of the world. How can we help each other? Daniel says that having knowledge and competencies that allow people to navigate across cultures. I think that kind of answers one of our first questions about how can we help each other? And I think by growing our knowledge and competencies, like Daniel says, so that we can navigate better across cultures is a great way to do that. Jacqueline says that it is responsibilities with communities around the world. Thanks so much, Jacqueline, for sharing that. I think that you've got a great point that we do have a responsibility, not just to our own community, but to communities around the world. Thank you, everyone, for sharing such great perspectives on what it means to be a global citizen, to be a part of everywhere, to feel a part of everyone. Thank you, Gio. That's such a great perspective to share. And learning from other cultures, that's something that we're going to talk about here in just one moment. So here are some definitions of what it means to be a global citizen. UNESCO says that we are connected not just with one country, but with a broader global community. So by positively contributing to it, we can also influence change on regional, national, and local levels. So I know I read in the chat that we're more than just a national citizen, but we're a citizen of many regions and locations. An organization called Global Citizens Initiative says that a global citizen is someone who is aware of and understands the wider world and their place in it. They are a citizen of the world. We heard that from, was it Daniel? Or maybe Gio, that shared the idea of being a citizen of the world. It was Alfredo. Yes, so Global Citizens Initiative has the same perspective that Alfredo just shared. They take an active role in their community, and they work with others to make our planet more peaceful, sustainable, and fairer. So what does that mean in terms of how we should behave as global citizens? And I think Yolanda's got it right, the idea of exploring. So here are some ways that we can be good global citizens. There are many more ways, but I wanted to highlight just a few in today's webinar. So the first is to educate yourself about the world. Glenda said that, someone who can share about their culture and respects and learns from other cultures too. So I think that we're definitely have similar ideas there, that we should help our learners, and we should take time ourselves to understand and embrace the diversity of different cultures, of different experiences, and different viewpoints from all around the world. Secondly, we should advocate for global justice. Even small actions that we take, or we can encourage our learners to take, can make a difference when we all work together. Third, make sustainable choices. That has to do a lot with our environment, taking care of planet Earth. So conserving our natural resources, reducing our waste, and recycling every time we can. We should support businesses and organizations that are committed to social and environmental responsibility. And finally, I would just wanted to highlight a fourth way that we can be good global citizens: encourage our students and ourselves as well to be open-minded, to be respectful of others, to encourage our learners to question the assumptions that we make about other people, to challenge stereotypes, and to value diversity and different perspectives. So these are just a few ways that we can be good global citizens. Jacqueline shares that engaging with news around the world and assuming a position is one way to be a good global citizen. I agree. Being thinking outside your own region, your own nation, and seeing what is going on around the world is one way you can educate yourself about the world for global citizenship. Thanks so much, Jacqueline, for sharing that perspective. Hi, Patricia. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so let's talk through some ways that we can enact or do the things to make us good global citizens, and how we can encourage our learners to be good global citizens. Since this is International Education Week, I wanted to focus on ways that we can educate ourselves about the world. So, Open has MOOCs called Massive Open Online Courses. And there are many that are open right now for you to join. And inside those courses, you get a chance to share perspectives with people with educators from all over the world, from language learners all over the world. So it's a great opportunity for language learners and educators to come together and educate ourselves about our profession, about our languages, and about our world. So have you participated in a MOOC through the Open program? Will you share what MOOC you have participated in? So first, have you participated? Share that in the chat. If you actively participate in Teachers Corner Facebook page, that's another way you can engage with people from educators from around the world and educate yourself about their worlds and their perspectives. And so share in the chat. Do you participate in Teachers Corner Facebook page? Have you ever taken a MOOC through Open? Let me know. In 2021, I took the MOOC on media literacy. I was working in the Philippines at the time. That was a really relevant topic, especially in 2021. So have you ever taken a MOOC? Alfredo says not yet. Martha hasn't had the opportunity. Teachers Corner is through American English for Educators. And in November, they're discussing environmental change, environmental education, and climate change. So that gets into one of our points today about being a global citizen, is making sustainable choices. So you can get involved with the Teachers Corner Facebook page to talk more about being friendly to our environment as global citizenship. Yolanda has taken several of them. She took teaching grammar communicatively, and she's now taking fostering students' motivation and engagement. The fostering student motivation and engagement, I think, has got to be a very timely and interesting MOOC to be a part of. I know we're at the end of the calendar year, and motivation can be down, so I think that's a great time to take that one. Sandra shares that she took the technology integration MOOC a few years ago. Alfredo, yes, this is your chance to be more engaged as a global citizen, educating yourself about the world. Jacqueline has not taken a MOOC yet. Wow, Marwa, you've taken 4 MOOCs. That's awesome. That's impressive. And I'd love to know, Marwa, which MOOC you've enjoyed the most, or that you felt was the most helpful to you as an educator or a language learner. Patricia took a MOOC 5 years ago. That's right. Open has been doing MOOCs for a long time. Thanks so much for sharing your experiences with taking MOOCs. I think that they're a great way to educate yourself about the world by just taking these courses alongside people from all over the globe. And you can join the Teachers Corner Facebook page at any time. So here are the MOOCs that are open for you to enroll in right now. And I'll share the link to sign up for a MOOC if you are interested in educating yourself in one of these ways. So at the top is fostering student motivation and engagement. Let's see, who was it? Oh, Yolanda is taking that course right now. So that course is facilitated, which means there are teachers who are going through the course with you and providing updates and things like that. So that's a really interactive course. But enrollment closes in just a few days. English for Media Literacy for Educators is self-paced, which means there's not going to be an educator who walks with you through each step of the course. So that gives you a little more flexibility for taking that course. I took this MOOC in 2021. I found it very helpful for understanding the roles that media plays in my life, in the classroom, and how I can help my students to better understand and think about the media they consume. English for Career Development. I participated in this MOOC as well in 2021. And so this is a great path for you to take. It's self-paced as well. Enrollment closes there December 15th. So this course is just getting started. English for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. So this is great if you're teaching in one of the content areas, as well as if you would like to learn more language related to those topics. English for Journalism, which is also self-paced, and that closes on December 15th. Enrollment closes. The course is not over, but your last chance to enroll is December 15th. English for Business and Entrepreneurship, that closes, the enrollment closes December 15th. And then English for Media Literacy. This one's a little different because it's not geared as much towards educators. The first one I mentioned is more for educators. These others can be if you're just interested in learning more about the language and communication styles, as well as if you're interested in teaching these kinds of topics in your classroom. So I hope that you will log on to openenglishprograms.org and sign up for one of these courses to educate yourself about the world. They are going on right now, but enrollment, as you can see, has not ended. Oops, wrong direction. we go. Okay, we're going to try something different. If you have been attending webinars with me for the last few months, this will be a little different for you, but I would love to try a word cloud activity with everyone. So one of the other things that that we talked about in terms of being a good global citizen is to be open-minded and respectful of others. Since we are in this digital world so much, these MOOCs all happen online. Teachers Corner happens online. A lot of our language learning happens online. A lot of our professional development happens online. So being open-minded and respectful of others online, I think is a topic that we can explore with our students. So let's talk about some terms that might be new: digital citizenship and netiquette. If you will, if you've got a cell phone, you can take a picture of this QR code. You can scan the QR code and answer the question: what words come to your mind when you read the word netiquette? And I'll share the QR code in a moment. I think we'll also put a link to this activity in the chat, so that you can, if you do not have a cell phone, you can click on the link and you can share your ideas. What words come to mind when you read the word netiquette? You can share your ideas via that link as well. And I'm going to hop over to the word cloud page so that we can watch as everyone posts their ideas. You can also use the QR code that is listed here. This QR code works too. Great. We've got 9 responses so far. That is awesome. So we've got rules online. Respect is a big idea being shared. Norms, safety, that's so smart. Consideration, empathy, being polite online, absolutely. Good manners online. This is awesome. Very, very good. How we interact online. So I'm seeing some of the big ideas here are online etiquette, internet, respect, manners, and politeness. These are definitely things that we need. These are things that are a big consideration when we are online. This is great. This word cloud is really shaping up well to share a lot of your ideas all at once. The biggest idea I'm seeing is respect online. Let's see, share this tab. Okay. Thanks everyone for participating in this word cloud activity. I think you all shared some really important ideas about netiquette. So here's some definitions for both of those terms. I think you guys were on the right path, 100%. So thanks for sharing that information. Digital citizenship, it's responsible, respectful use of technology to engage online. It includes your knowledge, your skills, your practices to engage safely and responsibly in a digital environment. And then netiquette is those proper manners. I think manners was something that we saw in the word cloud as well, and your behavior online. So some guidelines for netiquette include being courteous, being precise, avoiding cyber bullying. So these are definitely some things that we can think about with being open-minded and respectful of others online. So how can we talk to our students about that? What are some ways we can get this into our classroom? So the first thing that you could try is some reading activities with your students. You could provide a short paragraph or a scenario where a way that someone participated online is shown to your students. They would read it, and then they could answer some discussion questions with their partners. So here's one example. Emily, an 11-year-old student, recently started a new online gaming community with friends from school. They were excited to connect, share tips, and play games together. One day, while chatting with her new online friends, Emily shared her full name, her school's name, and the city where she lives because she thought it would help them bond. Several weeks later, Emily began receiving friend requests and messages from people she didn't know on her social media profiles. She also noticed that some of her online friends were asking her about specific locations in her city, even places she hadn't mentioned to them. So this is a reading activity that you could do with your students, and follow it up with, what do you think Emily could have done differently to protect her privacy while still enjoying her online gaming community? And how can we balance making new friends online with safeguarding our personal information? So providing some scenarios for your students to read through and think through as part of a reading activity is one way that we can talk with our students about digital citizenship while increasing their English language skills. Here's a second idea. This would be a really fun listening activity. It's called thumbs up, thumbs down. So you can have some statements about netiquette and ask your students to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down based on whether they agree or disagree. So it's a great listening activity. So here's some examples of statements you can read, and your students have to listen and respond with a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's okay to edit someone's image and post it online. Your parent can post an image of you online without your consent. So not all of these are very clear cut. I can post pictures of friends online. I can post pictures of celebrities online. I can ask someone to leave a group chat if they are making me feel unsafe. I can unfriend someone who makes me feel unsafe. It's okay to exclude a friend from a group chat. So these statements are not all, some of them have to make you really think about how you would answer it. So it's a great listening activity. It's also a great critical thinking activity. Yolanda says that she likes the idea of using scenarios or even case studies to have students think critically about important topics. I agree, Yolanda. Using these scenarios can work for a variety of topics across global citizenship. I'd love it if you'd share some of the ways you've used case studies or scenarios in the chat. So here's a third activity you can do with your students to explore the netiquette and global citizenship. So this is a writing activity. You can put your students into pairs or small groups, and one person would write an email and send it to their partner or their small group, and that email would break a netiquette rule. So break a rule for good online behavior. The rest of the people in the group or partner B would read the email, Find out what was wrong, what was broken, what rule was broken, and then edit the email to correct it. So this uses a lot of critical thinking in addition to writing digitally, and reading what their partners have written. So it uses a lot of language skills, but it can be done very simply for learners who are beginning with English, or with learners who are far more advanced. Those emails can be longer and more complex. So these are a few ideas for how you can explore global citizenship in your classroom as part of your language learning and language teaching. Karima says that I would provide my learners some advice about how to behave online before the listening in order to help them with the vocabulary. That's a great idea. Putting some vocabulary, thinking through the words that they'll need to understand in order to participate is a great way to get them thinking critically and have their minds on the English they'll need for that activity. This is great. Thanks for sharing that idea. And in that same idea, providing learners some advice about how to behave online, I'm curious, what advice do you give your learners for how to behave online? Do you have classroom rules for online behavior? Does your school have rules for how students are to behave when they're using computers or phones on school property? So put a thumbs up or down in the chat if you do have classroom rules for online behavior. And what are those rules? What advice would you give your students, or do you give your students, about how to behave online? What's one rule for classroom online behavior? Hi, Kamis. Glad you're joining us. Laura, I'm glad you're enjoying these ideas. I look forward to hearing from you about how they go. Beth says that respect, turn taking, that's really important, even in the online environment. Don't write bad words. Agreed. Thank you, Julio. Yeah, using respectful language only. Jacqueline shared a thumbs up that she does have classroom rules for online behavior. Raising hands to speak. Is that true also in Zoom, where you have the button you can push to raise hands? Or do you ask that your students raise hands like I'm doing right now? Or maybe both? Sure, both. Okay. Through Zoom as well. Yeah, this is great. This adds to what Beth was saying about turn taking, that even on Zoom, even online, you can show respect by raising your hand to speak. So, and that can be with the button on Zoom or with the raising your hand. Laura talks about waiting for your turn to answer. Patricia mentions that we should practice all the vocabulary for speaking and reading. Jacqueline also shared that we should keep our that they keep their microphones off in the main session. Hi, Mohammed. Thanks for joining us. So these are some great ideas for rules that you have in your online classrooms, or when your students are using the internet. So Beth, you shared taking pictures of peers and teachers. What is the rule for that? Are they allowed to do that? Should they ask permission first? Is that against the rules to take pictures of peers and teachers? Oh, Raul, that's a great idea. Encouraging that online participation by choosing another student to continue. It also helps students think through how to end their turn so that students aren't talking. Thanks, Beth. So they ask permission before they take pictures. Marwa says that she gets them to watch a video of someone abusing etiquette and then comment on the issue. That's an awesome idea. I bet YouTube has videos that you can use in the classroom. Marwa also talks about mind mapping and brainstorming ideas before they write a message. That's a good skill to develop both as a language learner and as a responsible user of online, is to think through what you're going to say before you say it, because it's very difficult to take things back online. It's a great idea. Karina says, the last school I was working at, I was surprised they didn't call it rules, but agreements. It made sense to me when I realized the first term was teacher-centered and the second one was student-centered. Thanks, Karina, for sharing that perspective. I think that's a great way to consider that. I plan to update the way I talk about this in the future, because it does have to be an agreement for how we're going to show respect to one another. And I think you're right. Rules comes off very teacher-centered, but an agreement puts value on what everyone thinks and has to say. So thanks for sharing that perspective, Karina. So in conclusion, because we are wrapping up now, these are just some of the ways that you can talk with your students about being a global citizen. You can educate yourself about the world by taking a MOOC and joining Teachers Corner. Teachers Corner this month is all about making sustainable choices, talking about climate change and environmental education. So you can get more involved in making sustainable choices in the Teachers Corner Facebook group. You can advocate for global justice. If you join me after this webinar in the Zoom room, we'll talk a little bit more about some ways that you can advocate for global justice with your students. And then I shared 3 activities for being open-minded and respectful of others online. So I hope that you found some of this useful and can implement it into your classroom. And thanks so much for sharing your own rules and ideas for talking about this with your students. So please plan to join me at 3 o'clock, so in just about 20 minutes, so we can keep talking about global citizenship, maybe get into some of the ways that we can talk about advocating for global justice with our students. So join me at 3 o'clock via the Zoom link that's going to be posted on the RELO Andes Facebook page. So you can put your questions or comments in the chat. I think we're kind of towards the end of our time together. I want to be respectful of your time as well. So let's take just a moment or two for questions in the chat, and I'll respond to those. And if you're interested in learning more about American English, looking up any of those resources that I shared at the beginning of the webinar, americanenglish.state.gov is where it's at. Thanks so much, Beth, Yolanda, Laura, Karina, for coming and participating in our webinar this afternoon. I'm really thankful that you came. Jacqueline, thank you for being here and for sharing so much. I'm really thankful for your perspective. Kamis, thank you for being here and sharing so much with us on this webinar. Thank you, Marwa. You had some great ideas. Thanks for sharing. All right. I am going to hop off this, this link and get ready for our 3 o'clock Zoom talk where we can continue this conversation. So thanks so much for being a part, and have a great afternoon. See you at 3 o'clock on Zoom.